Good morning. Today is Wednesday. It is the 23rd day of Kislev. Tomorrow night we begin the holiday of Hanukkah. Very exciting. So we continue the chapter 1 in the Tanya. Yesterday we learned the first half, and today we're going to conclude the first chapter. So the Alter Rebbe is introducing the idea of what is a real tzaddik, what is a righteous person, what is a rasha, wicked person, what is a beinoni. And he explained that what we would think that what a tzaddik means is not really what it is. Sometimes you see a person acting, behaving like perfectly, and you would say, "Oh, this is a tzaddik." But the Rebbe says, "No, not at all." And he brought from different areas proof that tzaddik is not so simple. And the Alter Rebbe is going to explain what it is. So let's continue inside. The Alter Rebbe v'hode amrinen be'alma. The mechza al mechza mikra beinoni v'rev zechuya is mikra tzaddik. He says, as for the well-known saying that one who has half and half, if you have half goods and half not, this is you call a beinoni. It's called the middle. And if you have the majority of merits, of virtues, then is called a tzaddik. When is this term used? He says, Alter Rebbe, Hushem Amushal, it is a borrowed name. It is a borrowed term. Le'inyan sachar ve'oinesh. This is borrowed in regard to rewards and punishment. Lefishenidoin acharuboy, because one is judged according to the majority of his deeds. Umikre tzaddik bedinoi me'achar shazoiche badin. So a person may be termed a tzaddik in the judgment when, in reference to the verdict, that is acquitted in his trial, then he called him a tzaddik, he called him innocent. Just like, we go to court and the judge will rule someone innocent. He may be innocent in this case, but there may be a low life. He may be in other areas, not exactly innocent. But he used the term innocent. He used the term tzaddik, but this is only a borrowed term. It's only in regards to judging the person. So you say if that person has, like it says, for example, on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, when Hashem judges the people, so when a person has a majority of good deeds, of virtues, then he's being ruled as a tzaddik. But that's not the actual meaning of a tzaddik. Avol le'inyan amitas shema toya. However, when we're talking truly to define the distinct quality and ranks of tzaddikim, shema toya va'amayla shel mayla is madrega is chaluka is tzaddikim u'beinanim, to differentiate the different levels of the tzaddikim and beinanim, the righteous and the beinani. Our sages say in regarding to this, tzaddikim yetzer tov shoiftam. The tzaddikim, they are ruled solely by the yetzer tov, by the good inclination. The evil inclination does not rule them at all. Meaning they don't even have a desire to do something bad. Shenema, as it is written, King David says, "V'libi cholal bekirbi." My heart is void within me. King David, eliminated his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination. As it says, She'ein lo Yetzer Hara ki haroge b'tainis, that he did not have a Yetzer Hara, he totally having slayed it through fasting. King David did teshuvah, and he reached the level of a tzaddik that he eliminated his Yetzer Hara completely through fasting. He kept fasting and fasting. There's other ways of eliminating the Yetzer Hara, but that's what King David did. Avol, however, kol mi shelo higia lemadrega zu, anyone who did not attain this degree, af shezichuyosav merubim elavainosav, even though his virtues outnumber his sins, einoi b'mailes umadregas tzadik klal. He's not at all in the level and the rank of a tzaddik. So that comes to put things in perspective. Because when a person thinks that he's a tzaddik, that may be very dangerous. He thinks, oh, I'm good. I'm already a tzaddik. That's the Alter Rebbe, no. That is not a tzaddik. This is why our sages tell us in a medrash, Hashem saw that there are very few tzaddikim in the world. Therefore, he planted them and he spread them in every single generation because he needed tzaddikim every generation. And as it says, as it is written, that tzaddik yesoid olam, that tzaddik is the foundation of the world. So that's why you do need tzaddikim. That's why Hashem planted them. So that comes to teach us that a tzaddik is not someone who is just acting right, because that you have many. You have plenty of people who are controlling when it comes to behavior. They're controlling they're fully. They're in full control. They're acting well, and they're doing things only good, and they're speaking only well, and even thinking the positive. But still, they're not tzaddikim. A tzaddik who is eliminated is Yetzer Hara, that is so pure that he doesn't even want to do something bad, and that is something that is very few. So the Alter Rebbe now starts to explain what that means. That we need to understand what is the makeup of a human being. And when we know what we are, then we know how to deal, and we know how to address everything, and we know how to realize how to live our life and how to face challenges. Says the Alter Rebbe how to explain the matter, to understand all of this, the difference, the levels, what is a tzaddik, what is a beinoni, and intermediate person. Says the Alter Rebbe, Al pi ma shekosav Harav Chaim Vital Zichrono Livrocha, based on what the Rabbi Chaim Vital of blessed memory wrote. He's the student of the Arizal. B'Shar HaKdusha u'Be'etz Chaim Sha'anun Perik Beis. Wrote it in the Shar HaKdusha, in the book Shar HaKdusha, and in Eitz Chaim. Ve'lekol ish Yisrael echad tzadik ve'echad rasha yesh shtei neshamis. That every Jew, whether righteous or wicked, he possesses two souls, two neshamis. Kedichsiv, u'kedichsiv, as it is written, u'neshamais ani osisi. It is written in Isaiah. It says, u'neshamais ani osisi, and neshama souls which I have made. That means that there's more than one soul to a person. Of course, you may ask, maybe this verse refers to souls in general, that God created souls of people in general, and that is referred to in plural. But the answer is no, that it cannot be explained that way, because that verse begins in a singular term. The verse begins, Veruach melfona yatef, and a spirit comes from me. And then it says, Neshamas hanisisi, and souls I have made. Meaning that the verse is talking about a single individual. That in a single individual, Hashem made souls, more than one soul. What are the two souls? That means plural, the minimum of plural is two. Shein shtei nefashos. These are the two nefashos, two souls. He calls it neshamas, he calls it nefashos, because there are different levels in the souls. But here he's talking about the basic level of the nefesh, of the soul that is in every person. So in every person, there is two souls. The two souls, we have the godly soul and we have the animal soul. And he begins by explaining the animal soul. Why does he begin with animal soul? Because that's the first soul that comes into the person. We are born with animalistic desires. And he comes to explain that when we know we have good inclination and bad inclination. We're all familiar with the term Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov. But this term, Yetzer Hara, that is a good inclination, one may think that there is, what does it mean, a good inclination? It's like you have an inclination to do good, an inclination to do bad. And that can get the person really, really confused. Because if you work on yourself and you realize, and you think, okay, I become Baal Teshuvah, I start doing good, and then one day you wake up with some desires to do bad, or you do actually do bad, and you say to yourself, oh, what is this all about? It's all worth nothing. I thought I'm a good person, I realize I'm a bad person. So the Alter Rebbe comes to explain, you have to understand that the good inclination and the evil inclination, they're not just inclination. They are actual souls with the whole meaning. What it means it's a life. It's a whole life of, there is a life of the good side and the life of the other side. And being that there is these two nefashos, these two souls, that they are like struggling with each other, and each one fight over the person to overcome and control the person. Then you realize that even if one day you wake up with not good thoughts, doesn't mean that this is the end of the game. On the contrary, it means that you have to wake up the other soul. So he says, what is the first soul? Nefesh achas mitzad klipa v'sitra acha. One soul originates in the klipa and sitra acha. Klipa means the shell. A shell is like a shell of a fruit that covers and hides what's inside. The same thing, the evil inclination hides and covers what's really inside, the good side of the person. And sitra acha means from the other side. There is the good side and there's the other side. Now this soul that comes from the klipa, from the other side, from the shell, this soul is clothed in the blood of a human being, giving life to the body. And as it is written, Ki nefesh habasar badam hi. That the nefesh of the flesh is in the blood, the soul that sustains the physical life is in the blood. Umimena ba'is kol hamidos rois me'arba yesodos roim sheba. So from this nefesh, from this soul, stems all the evil characteristics, and they derive from the four evil elements within it. We have the four elements, the elements of fire, the air, and water, and earth. And so just like everything in the world is made out of these four elements, so also the characteristics of the soul of the person, they also come from these elements. The Aino, which means Kaz vegava, misoida eish, shenigba lemaylo. The character of anger and pride comes from the element of fire. Just like fire rises upward, the same thing is Kaz. You get angry, why? Because who do you think you are to make me angry? To do this to me. That makes the anger comes from rising upward. The same thing is gaiva, boasting, pride. V'taiva satanugim. There's other characteristics of the appetite of pleasure. We all seek pleasure, and what we seek is from our animalistic soul. We just want to have pleasure. We just want to enjoy. Not there's something wrong to enjoy, but when you do it in a not good way, it comes Likutei Amarim. It's from the element of water. Because water promotes the growth of all kinds of pleasurable things. You come to water. Water is actually, any vacation advertiser. You see water, the pleasure, and it makes things grow, the pleasurable things. So the element of water is the source of the pleasures, the selfish pleasures. The hoylelus, v'leitzanus, v'isparus, udvorim betelim, misoy deruach. Hoylelus, frivolity, leitzanus, scoffing. Isparus means boasting. Udvorim betelim means idle talk. This comes from the element of air. Just like air doesn't have any substance. You notice before we spoke about being pride comes from fire that raises upwards. Here it says boasting comes from air. So which one is it? So when talking about pride, you're talking about someone who is pride about something that he has. Somebody's smart, somebody's rich. His pride about it is very proud, feels arrogant about it. That comes from fire. What he's talking here about boasting, sometimes people boast, but have nothing to boast about. This is empty boasting. That comes from the air. It's empty, no substance. So that is the Yesoid Ruach, the element of air. Ve'atzlus mi Yesoid Afar. Now, laziness and melancholy, becoming sad, becoming depressed, this is from the element of earth, which is heavy, drags the person down. Those are the four elements that bring negative characteristic in the person. They come from that animalistic soul. Alter Rebbe continues and says, well, you should know, not only those that bad characters comes from this animal soul, this soul also brings good characteristics. And he says, there's also, from this soul stems also all good traits that are inherent in every Jew's character. Like compassion and benevolence. Bois mimeno, they come also from this soul. And here he explains something which we need to understand. And he says there is a difference between the animal soul of a Jew and the animal soul of a non-Jew. He says in a Jew there is inherent good. Meaning, what does that mean? He's going to say that the souls, animalistic souls of any human being is really selfish. Any human being is selfish. Even good things, what you do it for selfish reasons. You give charity to someone. Why do you give charity? So it could be many different reasons. Could be a reason you're giving charity because you want to be famous. That could be a reason. Other people give charity because they want to have a tax deduction. Selfish. But even when a person gives charity because he feels bad towards another person, you see that the poor person giving, you feel bad. You give him charity, you give him something, so it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good that the other person has something to eat. So in a sense, at the end of the day, it's also a selfish act because you're doing it for yourself. And to do it, we're giving, the government gives foreign aid. You always calculate, how does it help us? Is it worth to give the foreign aid? To be really care for somebody else without any selfish things involved is very, very rare. The difference would be when you see a poor person and you want to help him, and you go and you buy him a sandwich and you give it to him, and he says, "Oh, wait, no, I have already a sandwich. I have plenty to eat." So if you're doing it for selfish reason, you'll feel bad. Oh, I wanted to help him, now I can't help him. But if you really care for the person, then you'll be happy. The guy has what to eat. So here is said, the Alter Rebbe explains that normally of a human being, any human being, whatever you do is in a sense selfish also. By a Jew, however, there is something inherent in that Hashem gave, the ultimate good that a person wants to do, that a Jew also really has the good inside. Not to say that obviously there's some Jews that act not Jewish at all, but really inside that, even in the animal soul of a Jew, he has that inherent good that he wants to do it. Selfless. It says also there is also exceptions, even among Goyim. It says the righteous Gentiles, there's also exceptions that also want to have this inherent good. But in generally speaking, this is the difference between an animal soul of a Jew and a non-Jew. Says the Alter Rebbe, Ki beYisrael nefesh zudi klipa, because in the case of a Jew, this soul of a klipa derives from the klipa, from the shell called noiga, sheyesh bo gam ken tov. It is a shell that has a mixture of good and bad. So that's why you have the good characteristic and the bad characteristic. And this klipa, this shell, is from the esoteric tree of knowledge, which is comprised of good and bad, good and evil. The souls of the nations of the world, however, they emanate from other unclean klippas, which contain no good whatsoever, meaning that even the good things, in a sense, they have some selfish things, selfish reasons. As it says in the book Eitz Chaim Shalmem Tes Peri Gimel, chapter 49, portal 49, chapter 3, V'chol tivu de avdin ahumois legamayu avdin, that all goods that the nations do is done out of selfish motives. And as it says in the Gemara, al pasuk v'chesed le'umim chatas, there's a verse that states v'chesed le'umim chatas, the kindness of the nations is sin. What does it mean, sin? Not that it's a bad thing, but it means that it has a sin. The word chatas means that it's lacking. The word chatas also means a sin. It means something that is lacking. That it's lacking. What is it lacking? That all the kindness, the charity and the kindness that the nations of the world do, it is only for the self-glorification. So this is why this is the difference between the nefesh of a Jew and a non-Jew. And as we said, that there's also exceptions to this rule, that is actually chesed, kindness of Chasidei Yumas Ha'olam, the righteous Gentiles, especially now. We have so many people that are doing things to actually help selflessly, but this is in general terms. So this is the end of chapter 1. And as Hashem, tomorrow we're going to continue to talk about the second soul. The second soul is the nefesh, or the godly soul. Thank you for joining. Any questions?